Good evening. Tonight is the April 23 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. I'd like to start off with an item of continued business and enforcement order 258.1 Varnum Ave. An enforcement order has been issued for dumping debris within the 100-year floodplain. We have received some photos from our conservation agent that expressed completion of this item. I don't have any other further comments. If they're happy, I'm happy with this one, and it looks like they got a clean bill of health.
I saw the photos. Looks good. Any other comments? All right, I'll make a motion to rescind the enforcement order.
I'll second that.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next up, we have a notice of intent. Can I get a help on a pronunciation of this?
Yes, it's the Hune Properties LLC.
Hune Properties LLC, project location 535 Pawtucket Boulevard, DEP file number 2060844. An NOI has been filed by Hune Properties LLC to demolish an existing abandoned single-family home and construct 3 new townhouse units. The property is located within the 100-year floodplain. Mr. Hammer?
Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering and Surveying, 10 George Street, Lowell, Mass. So we're here this evening for a notice of intent filing for the property at 535 Pawtucket Boulevard. The property is owned by the Hune Properties LLC, and it's located on the corner of Melrose Avenue and Pawtucket Boulevard. The Merrimack River is located southerly from the site, separated by the Pawtucket Boulevard. Existing on the property is a garage, a 1.5-story dwelling, as well as another garage, and there's pavement through here, walkways, entrances for the property. There's a fence here, there's a chain link fence here, and this is all open in the rear. The existing grades range from 96, elevation 96 in the rear, to 98 in the front. Various spot grades additionally to the contouring that's shown on the plan. There's also some shed remnants in the back area here with an additional little gate there as well. The property has been abandoned for some years. It's been fenced up. The property owner has been trying to figure out what he can do with the property. I had advised them not to take the building down and demolish the entire site, because when you do that, you take away the pre-existing fill that's on the property, which is critically important when you're dealing with the bordering land subject to flooding, which I'll get to in a minute. The bordering land subject to flooding in this section is 100.4. That's relational, obviously, to the Merrimack River, and there's also floodplain that is associated with the Clay Pit Brook, as everybody knows. The proposed project, and I'm gonna go to the colored version here. just to simplify in colors. All the relevant engineering information is also on this plan. Is to propose 3 townhouses that'll be elevated, flow-through style construction, which are located here, and I'll show you the architectural drawings in a minute. And to provide an access utilizing, to provide this new access here, which will be everything that's in yellow, according to this shown on this plan, will be a porous pavement drive, and that's here. There'll be minimal grading that's shown on this plan, and all of the grading in the building for the cutting and filling is outlined in this compensatory storage chart located on the top of the page. We received comments from DEP, of which a DEP file number was issued, which is 206-0844. And in those comments, they were looking for a little bit more detail on the cutting and filling for this project. So what we did was we created a detailed compensatory storage calculation worksheet. And what this worksheet does for us is it shows you more detailed as to all the cutting and filling that's involved in this project. And we summate that information by taking a look at each unit, which has 6 1-foot by 1-foot columns, a utility chase, the stairs, and we wanted to make sure we included the stairs. So what we included the stairs as a 1-foot solid mass instead of going rise run to try to determine that. So we were conservative on the stairwell. And what we have is a 38 cubic feet per vertical foot per unit. So then you can add up the 3 units to get us to a 114 cubic feet per vertical foot per unit. And then what we do is we take the cutting and the grading on the site and we summate that with a full cutting and filling expanded chart. But the total net volume, which all of this is a total net cut from what's there today, is the same as what's on this plan. It's just broken down in detail, requested by DEP. So we have that. We're also proposing a porous pavement design. These designs are conducive to areas with low pitch, and they're also conducive to areas that have sandy substrate, which we know this entire region does have a sandy substrate along the Merrimack River. And that's this system here. So it's a nice, clean drainage system for having porous pavement, and these would be flow-through foundations. These are the units looking at it from the corner of Melrose across the unit, which would also show the adjacent building next to it. So here you can see the drive-through garages, the entranceway, the columns, and the drive. These are the elevations of the units. The front, as you would be facing Pawtucket Boulevard. The rear. The side elevations. This is a ground level. This is the flow through. And these are the floor plans. I don't know why they went through I think it was mainly for planning, to show the shading of the units in January. Through the year. Through September. So no properties will be affected by these units for shading. And that's my presentation. We feel as though, we know that this site will meet the performance standards for bordering land subject to flooding per the Wetlands Protection Act, for the cutting and filling for each vertical foot of the project within the floodplain, which in this case, the floodplain maximum elevation is 100.4. And our grades for the proposed project range from, essentially, they're generally around 98 through the site. And I can take any questions from the commission members.
I was kind of surprised at DEP's comments, given that we were overruled recently in saying that stairs and piers counted toward compensatory storage. They told us that they don't.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
Or at least they're negligible. I thought that you had already provided enough detail, but I appreciate the further detail. It does lead me to ask, now that I see the breakout, are the walls included here in the stairwell area?
Yes, the entire chase.
That's the stair chase?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you have the stair chase, the utility chase?
This utility chase, the stairs come up from the garage level.
And is that flow through as well, the stairwell?
The stairwell would be, yes.
Yeah.
It can go, the water can go all around it.
Yeah.
We just took it as a 1 foot plane for the entire stair, because a typical stair run is 8 inches by 10 inches.
But it's not, I mean, it's not 4 feet by 2 feet. You've got 8 feet here shown in stairs. Your stair box is not 4 by 2.
No, but it's 8 feet long.
Feet.
So depending on who the circuit rider is, so we do a fair amount of work in Salisbury, where we're dealing with the vertical flood, the vertical velocity flood zone from waves. And then we also deal additionally with the floodplain that comes up from around the back, which is called the basin. And in all of those cases, we've always calculated everything. Now, it depends on who the circuit rider is, who's doing the comments. If they ask for something specific and we don't provide it, and let's say, for instance, you issue an order of conditions and then they need to sign off on that, because they have the ability at that point to issue a letter of intervention. And if their individual comments are not addressed, then we would find.
No, of course, you have to address them. I'm still not sure how this stairwell is 8 square feet per vertical foot. It looks to me like the bottom landing is a 6 by 6 box or an 8 by 8 box.
It's 8 square feet per vertical feet.
Well, let's look at the bottom landing, right? So that's you're considering the water entering that landing.
Yes.
So it's just the stairs. So it's okay. Yeah. All right. There's that box. But that's just the stairwell. That doesn't include the left and front wall of that left unit, does it? I mean, the wall is a solid pack. I don't think you can consider it the stair chase, like.
This is the best view here to
Sure.
see. I can show, sorry. This is the best view here where you can see kind of a cross-section of the volume. So we take into account that volume as being 6. So we have the columns.
Yeah,
We have the utility chase, which is 6 feet by 4 feet.
sure, that's a clear box shown
Yep.
on the drawings.
And then we have 8 square feet per vertical foot for the stairs themselves.
But that's just one stair.
No, yeah, but we're taking it as a,
I know that the stair's not actually a foot tall, but it's like,
so we're going 1 foot by 1 foot.
that's the 1 foot box like this, right? Like,
It's actually a trapezoid cross-section
yeah,
per vertical foot
sure.
to get you to
But you
that.
don't have the left and like the front door is not in there.
Yes, that's part of the, that's part of the utility chase. So this entire section here
I mean,
is the utility
it's pretty
chase.
clearly shown that the utility chase is the X'd out dashed box
Correct, which is,
that's 6 by 4.
right, and then you have the area next to it.
And you have the area next to it, and you have the walls in front and to the side of it. The walls and doors are the things that I think are not considered. You have the walls for the utility chase, sure. You have the stairs, but I wouldn't consider that a stair chase, right? That's just the stairs. Mm-hmm. And then there's the front door, and then there's the side wall to the left of it that is the landing wall. I mean, I know I'm splitting hairs because you've got more than enough fill, and I don't even need this table, but seeing as you need to submit this to the DEP, I would consider adding that.
Okay, I can add that. That's fine.
Yeah.
DEP has this document, so we have sent this to the DEP.
Okay.
But I'll make sure I check that information to ensure that wall is included.
Yeah, it's pretty, again, it's like, it's not gonna change anything here. You've got more than enough cut. And I will say again that I didn't even need this document because you've greatly increased our, or decreased our impervious area on this site. The porous pavement, was there an operations and management plan?
Yeah, we have a, yep,
I thought I saw one, but I couldn't remember. I don't need a copy right now.
yeah, we have a stormwater report. And there is no operation and maintenance in there, but we can add that
I
for the vacuuming of the porous pavement, which needs to be done twice a year.
Yes, I
Yep.
would appreciate that.
We can do that, yep. And there will be a condominium association for this property,
Fantastic.
so that'll be incorporated into those HOA, homeowners association documents. That would be included in those documents on record at the registry.
Exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Okay, yep. We also have to go to the planning board after this
Okay.
as well, so we'll make sure that gets put in.
The last there were several comments, and it's not really our purview, but there were some comments about engineering sewer-related stuff.
Yeah.
Have you revised that?
I have not changed anything related to the sewer and the water plans, but we most certainly will for the planning board.
Typically, we don't accept anything new within 1 week of our meetings. I don't really have an issue with this as proposed. Anybody else?
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Of course.
I visited the site today, and of course, I couldn't walk on the property because it was all chain linked, but
Right.
I saw no standing water. At the edge of the property was a single-family home, then there was a street, and there was wetlands on the other side of the street. I
am not aware of any wetlands.
Well, if you're looking at the property from Melrose Ave,
I know what you're talking about. There's an area that becomes inundated with water on the other side of the street. I'm not so sure it actually is wetlands.
well, I'm very familiar with that area. That's
Yep.
the Clay Pit Brook
Yep.
area. So at the end of this property that you're speaking of,
Okay,
there's a single-family home,
all right.
there's a road.
So are you down here now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, right where you're at. There's a single-family home, a
Okay.
road, and then the wetlands
Behind, back.
on the
Yes.
other side of the road.
That's right, yeah.
Now, I went there today. The wetlands were only 2 feet from the road,
Okay,
okay? And we haven't had rain in a couple of days, but Melrose Ave gets flooded constantly.
yes, it does. Yep.
So, the chairman was talking about, the steps and the landing and all that. On a heavy rain event, I don't know how the residents are gonna be able to get out of that house. I mean, you got the flow-through garage, right?
Well, they're going to be able to come right out onto Pawtucket Boulevard.
I mean, that is still in the flood zone.
It is in the
So
flood
they
zone.
would have to walk
So-
through some floodwaters to get out of
Well,
there.
So-
what I'm saying, in a catastrophic event, you're gonna get the Merrimack, and you're gonna get the Clay Pit Brook swampland area coming from the other side.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but, so I'm very familiar with this entire area. I know I was here during the Mother's Day flood. We permitted the Grandview condominium towers right down the street. So we're very aware of what happens here. Now, what does happen is we typically know, I'm going to say 2 to 4 days before the flood stage, before you get to flood stage, you know that a couple days beforehand.
Yeah, it's gotta be 58 CFI.
What's that?
It's gotta be 58 feet CFI, according to
so
the
we-
Hunts Fall gauge.
Yeah, so so that's the city of Lowell datum.
Yep.
And then we're on NAVD 88, which is the vertical datum of which the floodplain is on this property, which is 100.4. When we get to just relational to this property, okay? Because it changes, the elevation changes as you go down gradient on the Merrimack River. At this particular property, when you're at, I'm going to say elevation 97 in the Merrimack River, at this cross section here, you know that a couple days before, the water crests the Merrimack River as well as backflows the Clay Pit Brook as well. So you know that a couple days before. So What really should be incorporated in this is maybe some awareness in the operation maintenance plan that they can get their vehicles out of this area when they know that they're utilizing the Merrimack River tide gauge, that when you get to an elevation of 96, 97, that you need to now realize that you need to evacuate your vehicles. You could still be in the house, but there'll be water here, so they need to evacuate the houses. So we do know that.
Not to interrupt you, but why would you want to put homes in an area like this? Seriously. I mean, it's a flood zone. And you, if you're that well aware of the Mother's Day flood and 11 months later,
Yep.
the disruption that
Yep.
it causes to homeowners during these events, why would you want to put a home in this area?
Well, because the homes are still valuable, okay? So 99% of the time during a given year, you're not going to have a flood, okay? So you could have a flood, a 1% chance of having a flood, okay? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to live in your home. For the same reason they put in Market Basket. The Market Basket itself is out of the floodplain, the building itself, but everything around it actually is in the floodplain. And for the same reason, all the other properties in the floodplain still get constructed. They have a mechanism in the Wetlands Protection Act to build in a floodplain because the land is still valuable 99% of the time during a given year, because that's the likelihood of you having a flood. Now, whether someone wants to buy a house in a floodplain is up to them, but they know that their perishable goods in this floodplain will not be damaged. We develop properties in Salisbury and all along the beach under the presumption that waves will actually go underneath your homes, but the floor that you live on will not be affected by the flood.
Thank you.
And that's permissible per the Wetlands Protection Act.
There's also one other thing that Matt had touched on when he started his presentation, about the value of having this existing home. It takes up space in the flood zone, right? It's just existence fills flood zone storage capacity. Its removal creates a net cut. And then he's only allowed to add things in each 1 foot interval, which still result in a cut, a reduction in flood zone storage, flood zone. Yeah, stuff in the flood zone, for lack of a better word. And so this table, the compensatory storage calculations, as well as the expanded version that he handed us, shows that in each 1 foot, they're reducing the amount of stuff in the flood zone. So they're actually making it better for the neighbors. I hear you. I wouldn't want to live somewhere where I had to worry about my car either. But people do. And this is the mechanism that allows them to build on it. They've passed the test.
The important thing is, as well as the gain in storage for the area, is that all the valuables in the home are not affected by the flood. That's all. It's the critically important part of it. And FEMA, as well as DEP, recognizes that if you have that condition, then you can build in the floodplain, as well as meeting the performance standards.
I apologize. I've lived through it.
Oh, you don't have to apologize.
No,
Yeah.
but I've lived through it twice.
Yep.
And I'm not a fan of building on floodplains because I've seen it firsthand. But I just had to bring, those are the questions I had. That's all.
Yeah, I would be equally skeptical if I had seen what you saw firsthand, no doubt. Just hearing your stories, I take a little bit more you know, hope that we find that something's not buildable. But I don't have that feeling about this project and presentation. Anybody else?
No comment.
Is there anybody online that would like to join us and say something about this project? Anybody in person? Hearing none, we have an open public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any additional comments on this project? I have one other question for you. Are there any other, I mean, it looks like you've shown the existing substantial trees. Are there any other trees coming out?
Oh, I should have made note that we're gonna, this is actually important. I should have explained that there's a reduction of pavement as well.
Yes.
So we have a significant reduction in impervious surface. This curb cut here will be taken out, and these 4 trees will be planted to replace the shrubbery that's being removed around the house, and I'm sure there'll be some other landscaping.
You tricked me putting them on the demo plan. The proposed trees on the left?
What's that?
Yeah, they're there too.
Right in the middle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sometimes
Do you
make
have any other substantial
Sorry
tree
about
life coming out? Like, is there anything bigger than 4-inch diameter?
No, it's
that
just
you-
all mostly
It looks
small
small.
shrubs, yeah.
Okay. So, we have a significant improvement in impervious area. We have a improvement in compensatory storage, and we have a upgrade in landscaping. I have nothing to add.
I'd like to make a motion to grant a standard Lowell order of conditions.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Operation maintenance.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Order of conditions.
Also, the updated operation maintenance.
Inclusion of the cleaning, the biannual cleaning of the impervious, the pervious pavement.
Correct.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for the reminder, Matt. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
While you're up here,
Oh, yes.
we have a request for a certificate of compliance. Landplex LLC, project location 50 Payne Street, DEP file number in the 6 digits, 206283. This is a request for a certificate of compliance filed by Landplex for an NOI issued in 1988. Good year to remove a 10,000 gallon underground storage tank, gas storage tank.
Yeah, so at the last Conservation Commission meeting, we were issued an order of conditions for a proposed townhouse development. We should have done a certificate of compliance prior to that, typically, but it's fine. We can do this after. But essentially, what happened is that there was a 10,000 gallon gas tank installed on the site in order to fuel vehicles. That's what the order of conditions was for. I was actually curious as to why that was required on the site, but it was. It was never, the certificate of compliance was never completed. But what was done was the tank was actually removed. It was removed under the direction as well from the fire protection of the City of Lowell Fire Department, and it was included in a 21E report. that was done by Mill City Environmental, which showed and documented the fire department's records that this 10,000 gallon tank was removed. Now, normally when you do a certificate of compliance, all you have to do is show that it got installed properly from the original order of conditions, but in this case, it's actually been removed. So we feel as though that because the tank no longer exists, has been properly removed, documented, and included in the City of Lowell's Fire Department's records, as well as in a Phase 1 environmental report prepared by Mill City Environmental, that work has been more than completed, so that a certificate of compliance can be issued for that DEP file number.
Looks like you got a clean bill of health. I have no problem with that.
I'll motion to grant the certificate of compliance.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
The April 9th meeting minutes. Any comments?
No comments.
No comments.
Motion to approve?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any last words? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Look at it. Says,
Some knuckleheads.
yeah, I know. Look at Washington Park.
No, yeah.